Welcome back to Read This Next with Laura and Nicole from the Thunder Bay Public Library. This week we are doing one of Laura's favorite topics, closed circle mysteries.
Yay! I had actually been calling this locked room mysteries, but I did a little research, and what I discovered is that I've kind of been using that description wrong. But so just to give you an idea of what we're talking about, basically a locked room mystery is technically when there's been a murder and they unlock a room and there's someone dead inside. How did they die? Who killed them? It's impossible because the door is locked. What happened? And that's a fun sort of story. But the way I tend to think about it is kind of on a larger scale. Instead of a locked room, it's like a secure place that the people can't get out of. So it's an island. It's a snow resort that's been, there's been an avalanche and they can't leave. That sort of thing is how I think of a locked room mystery. And apparently I've been wrong.
They're like, no, that's not a room, therefore.
Yeah, I've been kind of extrapolating. But so that's the sort of story we're talking about. And then the other way to describe this sort of story is a closed circle mystery, where there's a specific set of characters. Usually it can be quite small, and it's like within this little group of people, your answer awaits. It's not going to be a lot of, oh, well, here's someone who was introduced as so-and-so's second cousin, and all of a sudden it turns out they're important and they did it. No, it's one of these people.
I love that.
Set of characters. Yeah. And I enjoy that as the basis for mystery, as the basis for like a fun romance, like whatever. Just give me like a small location with just a couple people in it and see what happens. I'm into that.
Golden.
So kind of like the gold standard of this kind of story, funnily enough, is not a locked room, because it's an island. The Agatha Christie's and then there were none is really famous novel of this type, where everyone's on the island and trapped and they're dying, and who is it and what's happening. I'm not going to spoil it, but just know it's great. And if you've never read that, that is a great place to start. But the other titles we have coming up, we're going to share a bunch with you, and they range from pretty kind of classic mysteries of this type, and then also ones where people took that kind of basic idea and crossed it over with something else, like crossed it over with science fiction.
Cool.
Or yeah, so we're going to share some of those as well, so you can see if you're like, oh, I've read all those and they're boring. Well, no. Check out what some other people are doing.
Love it.
So basically this is a type of novel that I really enjoy, so get ready to hear me be excited.
Oh yeah, last week was me being like, and there's fighting and dragons, and this week it's like, and they were on an island,
and then
there was
someone died.
Then someone died.
Yeah. These are also all murder mysteries, I believe. But that's often what these are, Yeah. I guess there could be like a locked room theft, but not these ones.
Not as thrilling, not as high stakes.
Thrilling, yeah, not as exciting. Okay, so this first one is a novel called They All Fall Down by Rachel Hausell Hall, and it's fun. Okay, so we get this woman. It starts off. I guess it's not entirely a closed circle, because it starts off with her before she travels to the island where the events occur. So it starts off with her in her regular life. She gets an invitation, goes and ends up at this, beautiful house, and turns out she finds out, and everyone else there finds out, the reasons they were invited there were lies. She'd been told she was going to be a contestant on a reality TV show. Someone else was told they were going to be, it was going to be a networking meeting with like high-flying investors, or whatever the reason might be, right? So now she's there with a bunch of other strangers, and it turns out that what connects them is they were all clients of the same lawyer.
Oh.
So then the story kind of goes out from there. Sporadic cell phone coverage. They don't have any boats. Someone's supposed to come pick them up, but it's not for a couple of days. And then, of course, people start dying. It's inevitable, the death, right? It's very it's a pulpy sort of one, like a fast thriller. This author is not really trying to like ask big philosophical questions. It's sort of just like let's have a fun good time with
A romp of a read.
a romp of a read with these characters all have secrets and we're going to find out what they are. Yeah, it's a good time.
Sounds good.
Yeah,
And for
that's
those
my first
keeping
one.
track, trapped in a
Trapped on an island.
how many people?
I think it ends up being there's 7 of them, plus
All right.
the people who drop them off.
Mm.
So that's another fun thing about these books. Very often, it's not like there's a lot of characters to keep track of.
You're like,
There's not
I
that
know
many people
so
in
and
play.
so.
Yeah.
Love it. Yes. I almost called you Skyla. Laura made this big chart, which was actually very handy, and she's like, I don't know if she's embarrassed about it or not, but like it's good, and it has. We'll post it in our notes, but it's got the title, where the book happens, how many characters are in it, and why they're isolated. So we'll try and hit those points as we go through to incorporate the chart, because I feel like it's important to this overall. If you don't like spas, then maybe don't read the one that has a spa in it.
Sure.
Okay. This next one is by a Swedish author, The Dying Game, which is Asa vdic, and the translator was Rachel Wilson Broyles. Cover looks like someone peeking through some like
frosted glass.
Okay, I'm going to skip the first tagline.
Sure.
The year is 2037, and on the tiny island of Eola, 7 people have been. We got the where it is, we got the how many people. We're setting it up.
They know the people who read these kind of books, that's the details they want.
That's what they want to know. So 7 people have been selected to participate in a 48-hour competition for a top secret intelligence position with the Totalitarian Union of Friendship. One of them is I'm like the Totalitarian, friendship. Okay. One of them is Anna Francis, a workaholic bureaucrat with a 9-year-old daughter she rarely sees and a secret that haunts her. Anna is not actually a candidate for the position. In fact, she's the test itself. Her assignment is to stage her own death and then to observe from her hiding place inside the walls of the house how the 6 other candidates react to the news that a murderer is among them. Who will take control? Who will crack under pressure? But then a storm rolls in, the power goes out, and the real game begins.
Right.
That sounds really good. They just sound so suspenseful.
Yeah. Right. Suspenseful. That's what it's all about. And then very often the weather often gets to play a role in these books, right? It's like there's a big storm, power's going out, the phones aren't working. If you're on an island, the weather is so bad you can't leave. Huge storm. And then you just have to deal with the circumstances.
I'm so curious. Does she like come out of hiding after all this stuff happens, or does she just like? Have you read this one?
No.
Oh,
the ones I gave you, I haven't read.
Oh, okay. Because this one, I feel like, does she just stay hiding and she's trying to be the like solve the mystery, or like does she come out and is like, hey, we should probably try and figure out who the murderer is?
Well, and how are we going to get off? Blah, blah, blah,
all that good stuff.
All that good stuff. Yeah. So fun and kind of like near future sci-fi, as well as being the mystery.
Love it.
Okay, our next one is one that I've read, and this author, she has had this. This might have been a bestseller as well. A couple of her other books recently have been bestsellers too. So this is called An Unwanted Guest. It's by Shari Lapena. And this one is a weekend retreat at a cozy mountain lodge. And
there you go.
You know it, a storm hits.
No way!
A storm hits. So we've got a nice little cast of characters. And of course, it's people who have been brought there. They don't know each other to begin with. So we've got like a single author who's there for some peace and quiet so she can work on her novel. And then we have a couple who the woman is trying to bring the flame back to their relationship. And the husband's like, maybe this is a good time to say I want a divorce. So they're not on the same page.
Yes.
We're on the same page. And a couple other, characters. And then there's the 2 members of staff who were there. And, you know, stuff happens as they do. Someone's murdered. Who could it be? And then, when someone else is murdered, who could that be?
Oh, goodness.
Yes, some of these, occasionally with these locked room murders, it'll be like one person dies, and that's kind of the end of the mystery. But very often, there's another element to this trope called one by one, which is just what it sounds like.
Just
where
picking
more
them
and
off.
more people get killed over time. Yeah, and so I mean, presumably at a certain point, you would be like, guess it's me or you, because there's nobody else here.
Yeah, it's like, it's not me. So I'm very what was I gonna say about that? I wonder if those, well, you would know, you've read it.
I
Do the
did.
books follow like the traditional like scary movie tropes where it's like the dumb blonde always makes it to the end, those kind of things? Okay,
No.
that's good. Nice and refreshing.
Yeah, some of them, the outsider person will be like a police officer, and in
Okay,
that case, often the police does make it to the end.
good to know.
But like in this instance, um, wow, I don't want to spoil it. Don't want to spoil it. But yeah, so there's different relationship dynamics, and just a fun time. A fun time snowed in the Catskills
People
with
dying,
at least
good
one
time.
murderer. A weekend retreat.
It's a good time. I love it.
So at first you're like, oh, that must just be an accident. But then when someone else dies,
What is it that they, maybe this might have just been Teen Wolf, or maybe this is a common saying and I only learned it in Teen Wolf. Once is whatever, two is a coincidence, and three is a pattern.
yes, I think though, once is an accident,
Once
once
is
is
an
an accident.
accident. Yeah. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Okay. This next
Okay.
one looks like sci-fi.
It is sci-fi.
It's called Six Wakes by Muir Lafferty. Yep, Lafferty. Okay. A space adventure set on a lone ship where the clones of a murdered crew must find their murderer before they kill again. First of all, we should have put this one on the Among Us episode.
It would have been perfect.
It would have been perfect.
I hadn't come across this one then.
No, we wouldn't have even thought about it. Okay. In this Hugo-nominated science fiction thriller by Amir Lafferty, a crew of clones awakens aboard a spaceship to find they're being hunted, and any one of them could be the killer. It was not common to awaken in a cloning vat streaked with drying blood. At least, Maria Arena had never experienced it. She had no memory of how she died. That was also new. Before, when she had awakened as a new clone, her first memory was of how she died. Maria's vat was in front of 6 other vats, each one holding the clone of a crew member of the Starship Dormire. Each clone waiting for its previous incarnation to die so it could awaken, and Maria wasn't the only one to die recently.
So,
okay.
Clones picking each other off.
So, is there like multiple sets of clones then?
I think it is anytime a clone dies, another one is regenerated so that you always have the crew members you need to man the ship.
This is very okay. What's that? I always get them mixed up. It's like the Prestige and like the other one, but I'm thinking of the one with Hugh Jackman.
You're thinking of the Prestige.
Okay, yeah, the Prestige, the one where he has to like kill his clone every time. Ooh, I love clone stuff. It gets so tricky and cool.
Clone stuff. Yeah, it also, to be honest, it kind of reminds me, I never watched this movie, so I don't know if I have totally the right idea, but I think so. There was a movie called, oh no, it's not called, maybe it is called Moon, but it was about someone who worked in a, like same thing, like isolated spaceship. And if he died, he would be replaced by a clone. And then something happens and he ends up, there's himself and his clone awake at the same time.
Oh.
And he didn't know he was a clone. So he's like,
huh?
what?
That is weird.
Yes. Yes. I'll find the name of that too. I'll put it in the notes.
This is so interesting because this implies like their first memory that I guess they remember is that they died, is how they died, but then they must
Yeah,
have other memories. But it says she has no memory of how. Oh, I'm confusing myself, but I think that's so interesting that 6 other clones. So all 6 of them must have died at the same time.
potentially.
So
So
is there
who's,
only 6 on the plane?
I think
Plane
so.
spaceship?
I think so.
Did one of them like
I
maybe
don't
they
know. I
oh
didn't read this one.
ah,
I didn't read this one.
wow, because this to me, my immediate thought is how did every single one of them die? If they're the only ones on the ship.
Oh, there's things you can do, as we've learned in many of these other mysteries.
I love it.
Oh, there's ways. There's ways and means. Okay, so our next one is actually two together. They're both fairly recent, and I put them together because they're by the same author, and so I didn't want to do her twice, but also she does have two books that are same sort of thing, and perhaps to her detriment, there have been some comments that are like, boy, this kind of has the same premise as your last one. You gonna branch out?
That's what people like. That's what people like. Mumford and Sons had 2 albums that were the exact same, and everyone was like, "Yes!" And then but they were also like, "You need to do something different." And then they did, and no one liked it. So
Sometimes you got to stick with what you know. And this author, it's funny because if you look at her back catalog, she wrote like 3 or 4 good kind of like light romances, and I don't think they really took off. And then she wrote one of these, and it was like, this is what you should write. So she wrote another one that was almost exactly the same.
that's just money
I
sense.
mean, that's just smart. Anyway,
Yeah.
okay, so what I'm talking about is the author Lucy Foley. And she has 2 books. She has in this style. One's called The Hunting Party, and one's called The Guest List. And yeah, The Hunting Party is set again in a like swank lodge resort area, and then The Guest List is for a wedding that's on an island.
Mm.
Yeah, so I of the 2, I preferred The Hunting Party, so that's the one I'm going to describe. So this is again isolated place, very few staff. There's 2 staff members, but this time the group that comes, they all know each other because they've been friends since like, I don't know, high school, grade school. Too long, in my opinion. Sometimes you need to let people go. Um, but so it's, the core group of them all know each other, and then they each, or not all of them, but most of them all have partners as well. So there's these like husbands and wives who feel a little bit out of the group because they don't know all the in jokes and this and that. And then there's like some randoms who are also there just kind of like for color, it seems like, but they're not that important. Anyway, so these old friends have come together, having a great place. They get to unwind and have a nice time. But of course, there is a blizzard, and it's inaccessible, and they can't get
And
out,
they're trapped.
and they're trapped. And then by 2 days later, one of them is dead.
What? You're telling me someone dies in this
Someone
book?
dies. Someone dies. After a decade, the weight of secret resentments has grown too heavy for the group's tenuous nostalgia to bear. Yeah.
That
You
sounds
know?
really cool. Just best friends trying to figure out who, well, best friends and others.
Yeah. Well, and it's not, in a way, there's not even really a best friends trying to figure it out, because it's the sort of friendship that it's almost just like a habit at this point,
Mhm.
that they see each other. But when you really dig down, they don't have that much in common. And yeah, there's a lot of resentments. And so it's more like, it's sort of that, like, how well do I really know this person sort of
Ooh.
thing. I see them perhaps through this filter of who they were when they were younger. Is that who they are today?
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds interesting. A
It
lot of
does.
interpersonal relationships going
Very
on.
much so. And then
Yeah.
there's like the poor staff who work there who are like, these people are crazy.
Someone's dead.
Someone's dead. They're like, super rich and wasteful and luxurious and like, throwing champagne around and stuff. And the actual staff are like, we don't like these people very much.
Shock.
I mean, we don't want anyone to die, clearly, but yeah. Anyway, so there's that one. And then the other one, the guest list of hers, is set on an island when there's a wedding. And wouldn't you know it, Weather comes up, nobody can leave.
I feel like we
Somebody's
talked
dead.
about this one.
Who did it? No, it's just very common.
No, I feel like maybe you even just
Oh, maybe
mentioned
I
that
did.
you were like, "Hey, I just read this really good book about people being trapped on an island," and we were like, "Wow!" I feel like that was the extent of it.
It might have been. I could have just thrown it out before, certainly. But yeah, so that is Lucy Foley. Okay,
Love it.
next one's yours.
Okay, The Last by Hannah Jameson.
Another one I haven't read yet.
Okay. John thought he had all the time in the world to respond to his wife's text message. I miss you so much. I feel it's longer than that. I thought it was just Okay, I miss you so much. I feel bad about how we left it. Love you. But as he's waiting in the lobby of L'Hotel 6em in Switzerland after an academic conference, still mulling over how to respond to his wife, he receives a string of horrifying push notifications. Washington, D.C. has been hit with a nuclear bomb, then New York, then London, and finally Berlin.
What?
That's really bad. That's all he knows before news outlets and social media goes black, and before the clouds on the horizon turn orange. Now, 2 months later, there are 20 survivors.
That's a bit of a that's a larger group than, 6 or 4, but still,
Yeah.
so 20.
I mean, yeah, okay.
Big hotel, sure.
I can see it. There are 20 survivors holed up at the hotel, a place already tainted by its strange history of suicides and murders. Those who can't bear to stay commit suicide or wander off into the woods. John and the others try and maintain some semblance of civilization. But when the water pressure disappears and John and a crew of survivors investigate the hotel's water tanks, they're shocked to discover the body of a young girl. As supplies dwindle and tensions rise, John becomes obsessed with investigating the death of the little girl as a way to cling to his own humanity. Yet the real questions remain. Can he afford to lose his mind in this hotel, or should he take his chances in the outside world? Oh, classic having someone's body in a water tank.
Yeah, we've all, that's a regular, it doesn't come up a lot.
No, but it's like quicksand. Like you've heard about it a lot.
You have heard of it. Yeah.
It doesn't happen, but you've heard of it.
Yeah. So most of the other books on this list, and most of the time when this is like the trope, it's going to be like 2 days or whatever, right? Or 4 days until they can dig out the resort. This one is a longer period of time, so it makes it different in that way. And then also there's the whole like apocalypse factor.
I love it.
Right, but at the bottom line though, it's very similar, right? There's a set group of people it could be. There's been a mystery, there's been a murder. Have to figure out who amongst you.
What a setup, though! Like, I just love that the author. What was her name again? It was Hannah Jameson. I love that she went. I want to write a mystery, but in the apocalypse. Like, there's so many times it's just like apocalypse, mystery, save the world, mystery, and she's just like, why not both?
Together?
Happy marriage. Yeah, I love it. That sounds like a good one.
It does. A chilling and extraordinary book, says Emily St. John Mandel, author of Station 11. I'm like, okay.
Thank you, Station 11 author.
Okay, so now we have kind of, what's the word? Not bonus round, rapid fire round.
Rapid round.
That's what I mean. Of some other ones you might want to check out. So there's The Escape Room by Megan Goldlin, which is a thriller. Cruel is the Night by Karo Hamalainen, which is a Finnish author, translated by Owen Weitzman. No Exit by Taylor Adams, and The Darkest Secret by Alex Marwood. Okay, now we're going to go to my recs, and because I'm all over these, I'm just going to do 2. Yay! This time. So my first one is, it's actually the first book in a series about this detective character that the author's going to keep writing more of them. And it's called Death in the Family, which is a good name, by Tessa Wergert. And yeah, a storm-struck island. Who knew?
No.
A blood-soaked bed, a missing man. Senior investigator Shanna Merchant believes it all adds up to a killer in their midst, and that murder is a family affair. So this one kind of has two pieces running. There's the plot of this investigator Shanna goes out with her partner. They go out to the island where there's like this rich, again, rich, opulent, swanky family. Um, and they're solving the mystery. And then there's also pieces being like parceled out to you as the reader about her background, why she used to be like a big shot detective. And now she's working at this like very small town place. What happened to
Mm.
her to make her leave the NYPD? What sort of issues is she bringing to this murder case? It's a little bit like you're reading her kind of like, I don't know if you were ready to start working, honey. I don't know. But they're
Yep.
there, right? So yeah, it's a fun one. It's very this one has that real Agatha Christie manor house mystery thing
Mm.
where, like there's a servant and then there's the rich matriarch and then there's the grown children and they have so much money, but do they really have money? Are there money problems?
It's like Knives
Maybe.
Out.
Yes, exactly. Is
We all
someone in
refer
debt?
back
Yeah.
there.
Yes. So it all kind of pulls that together. Fun. Some interesting tensions between our main character and her partner. He has like one really dopey, he doesn't want to believe at first that it's a murder. He's like, oh, it's a blood-soaked bed. Oh, I'm sure that he's just going to turn up. And our main character's like, no, that's pretty sure that whoever left all that blood is dead,
That's a
because
lot
that's
of
a lot
blood.
of blood. And the other guy's like, maybe someone had their period. And she's like, no, someone's
Sir.
dead.
Sir.
Sir.
Oh, no.
Right? Like, so like at that point, I was like, maybe he's the murderer.
He's acting very dumb.
That's such a very, but then,
Dumb.
well, I shouldn't spoil it. Who knows? But I was like, I don't know if I trust this partner. You better watch your back, Shanna.
Keep an eye out.
Keep an eye out. Yeah. So raging storm. And then not only are they're on this island and they're trapped, they decide, or one of them decides, well, like, you know what, let's just take our chances. And they go, the boats have been released. So someone wants to keep them there.
Of course they do.
Yes.
Wouldn't be a closed mystery if they let them escape.
If anyone just got off. Yeah. So there's that one, which is fun.
Love it.
And the next one is another sort of general one. This is just the author, Ruth Ware, which, again, many people who would read these kind of books or find them interesting, you already know about Ruth Ware, so I don't need to go through the whole thing. But just in case she's new to you, she's written some other mysteries that don't use this kind of trope, but these ones in particular of hers, they do. There's One by One in a swanky ski resort, and then there's The Woman in Cabin 10, which is on a boat.
Oh,
Trapped on a boat.
Love the trapped on a boat.
Right?
How big of a boat?
It's a little boat. It's a little yacht.
Oh, a little yacht.
It's, well, again, very rich people. That does seem to be a kind of a trend. It's like terrible rich people in these books.
Well, like who else can rent out a space that big?
It's true. It's true. There is one of these ones that I just shouted the name out. It is set at a highway rest stop. So that one is not rich people. But most of these other ones are. Anyway, so so there's the one being snowed in at a rustic mountain chalet. And it is another one where it's people who have known each other for a while, but then all of the history that they have comes into play with what's happening now. And this one does a really good job of, she sets up all the clues. Some of these, I will say, don't do the mysteries aren't as tight as some of the classic closed room mysteries you'll read. There's a couple where you're reading it and you're like, okay, this person is just acting silly. Because they have to act silly for the for the mystery to work. They can't figure it out right now, or else there's no story. Which, sometimes that's fine. You're doing a quick sorry, kick something. You're doing a fun quick read. Just got so excited I had to kick a stool. Anyway, Ruth Ware, not like that. All of her pieces, everything is meaningful and people act in ways that are in character, and you can still piece it all together and figure it out.
That's really cool.
Yes, very good. And then the very last thing that I will include in my list is a couple of titles that are closed circle, sort of locked room things, but there's not a murder. So one where I believe this is being adapted, actually, 9 Perfect Strangers by Leanne Moriarty. And it's 10 days at a health resort, and they get trapped in a room. And so there's some tension there that they're trapped in there together at the health resort. And then the cabin at the end of the world, which is actually, it takes this sort of basic, they're trapped in the cabin together, and it goes in totally wild, crazy, different ways. I wouldn't necessarily recommend this to anyone who has enjoyed the other kind of mysteries, because it does have, this one is a bit more, no, it's much more gory than the rest of them, and more violent, but it has some very interesting sort of philosophical ideas happening.
Love it.
Yeah, yes. Anyway, so
sorry, I was gonna say, was the One of Us is Lying, was that considered a closed mystery, or?
it is. I've got a list at the end of ones we've previously recommended.
Throw
One
them
of Us
out
is
there.
Lying. And then another one that I talked about a while back, 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle, which was that one where it's a murder mystery, and our the narrator, the person we're living in, every night when he goes to sleep, he wakes up in the character, someone who was also in the house during the mystery, and he relives the day and has to figure out who did the murder.
That sounds amazing. They all sound really good.
Yes. So that's what I've been doing with myself for the last month, is reading a bunch of these books.
And then putting them together in a list.
Yeah, so if you're a mystery reader and you haven't gotten into this particular kind of mystery, I'd highly recommend checking it out. They're really propulsive, and they're quick reads, and they're fun little, mind teasers. There's lots to kind of try to fit together as you're going. And if you've never tried them out before, most of them are not very, very violent. Like, there'll be, blood. There's blood, someone's been killed, but there's not a lot of, because we don't know who did it, so there's no murder scenes.
Oh, there you go.
So it's not like you're reading and then the knife came down. No, none of that.
Not scary. It's just like suspenseful.
Suspenseful, indeed.
I love it.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's that.
That's
Circle
that.
and Locked Room.
I love it. I will wrap us up then. Thank you so much for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, follow us across the board at tbaypl. We do respond to our comments. We are approaching our 50th. So if you have ideas of things that you want to talk about or us to talk about, let us know.
If you have suggestions of more of these kind of books I should read, let me know.
Yes. If we missed some, we would love to know them. Most of the time, these topics are like our favorites. So tell us. And yeah, of course, check out our show notes, www.tbplofftheshelf.com. And we will see you all next week. Bye.
Bye.